Alright guys, it has occurred to me as I'm sitting here editing this video that something to be said. I did not go over every single rule. If I did, this video would be well over hours long. This kind of hits the bullet points. Do me a favor. If you're going to build one of these cars, go to their website. Like I said, the link will be in the description. Check it out. Read through all the rules. Make sure you go through all the rules. And if you don't, like I said in the video, make a checklist. That way you know you're solid. No, not all these rules. There's more to these rules. There's lots. I highly recommend just checking out the page. This just kind of gives you a general idea if you're curious about doing it. The video is about 30 minutes long. I tried to shorten it, and believe it or not, I did. This is like 2.5 hours of recording. So I hope you enjoy. Any of the questions, put in the comments. I'll answer them as best as I can. Do me a favor, just be polite, and I'll be polite back. Thanks. What's up, people of Earth? It's all right. I'm back in Florida. Thank God. I was cold. So, what are we going to shoot this week? Well, to be honest with you, I haven't had a chance to work on anything. I actually got back a day later than I wanted to for lots and lots of reasons. I got to spend some time with the family. It was a good time overall. So, yep. Back to this week's video. What are we going to do? Well, you guys know that I do lemons. It's kind of obvious. This car is still here. It's waiting on the transmission to be done. Yep. Somebody had wrote a comment and asked about if I had a video about lemons rules. No, I don't. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do for a video this week, so this kind of just all falls into place. Quick disclaimer. I am not affiliated, employed, or anything like that with lemons. I am just a racer. I'm going to give you kind of the bullet points. If you go to 24hoursoflemons.com, they do have a how to not fail tech thing. And now it catches most of it. There is some other stuff. I strongly suggest you read all the rules, go through it, and kind of do a checklist. My wife and I have created a checklist. We go through it every single race, because I will tell you one disclaimer that Lemons has. It's a pretty solid one. Just because you pass it one time does not mean you're going to pass it the next. And that's simply because rules do change. Sometimes, you do modifications of the car that you don't realize you're stepping on. Sometimes you do modifications of the car that you don't realize that you changed something, so Lemons just looks at it. That's why the cars go through tech every time. I will tell you they're very, 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 very serious about safety. We're going to start with one of the big rules because it's a challenge on every single car. So you have the main bar, or the hoop, if you will. There's the hoop. This one is an A-pillar cage. It doesn't have a hoop that goes like this. This one has the bars that come down and then go down to the floor. The biggest thing is they want you 2 inches below. That's right, 2 inches below the top of your bar. So this particular car has 1.75 inch roll cage DOM tubing. So we have to be 1/4 of an inch below the bar. Now the bar, you can't really see it on that side, so I'll walk to the other side of the car and you can see what I'm talking about. No. Let me grab a light. All right. So the main hoop or main bar, this is, like I said, this is an A-pillar cage. It's not a halo cage. This bar comes off of here. It's one bar, all continuous bar all the way down to the bottom. So they want you basically 1/4 inch below this bar. So you got to be about here. That's the top of your helmet. This is always a challenge when it comes to building cages because they're not designed to have a cage. This one, this cage was a prefab cage that I had to modify. And in case you're wondering, I wasn't exactly thrilled with this cage. The main Lemons guy, John Hagel, I think I'm saying his name right. If I am, great. If not, I apologize. He was not thrilled with this cage, but it passes. There is nothing wrong with it. It is very legal. It's just the big thing was we wish the A-pillar bars went farther forward into the cabin rather than kind of dropping where they are, because as you can kind of see, door ends here, pillars here. This should realistically go all the way up to here. Once again, there's nothing wrong with it. Let's get that out of the way. It does pass. You are all fully encased. So, yeah. Back to that. So, yeah, they want you 2 inches below the top of that bar. it's just that way in the event of a rollover, you're not whacking your head on it. That's a big one. That's a huge one. Any particular time that anybody questions, everybody is kind of, how do I say, not everybody meets it well, and there's modifications you have to do. This car in particular, I had to lower the seat way down. It becomes a real problem when you have a taller driver. I am not tall. I am all of 5'8" on a good day, but I actually have a very long legs and I have a shorter torso. Yes, it's a thing. I actually sit way back in a seat. Nobody ever believes me until they get in a car that I built and they're like, "You're comfortable?" Yeah. Anyways, one of our drivers is almost 6 foot tall. So he's not super tall, and I had to drop the seat way down. This is a big deal, and the reason I'm going to spend a lot of time on this one particular thing is because it is a massive deal in all of our vehicles. As you can see also, well, you should be able to see. Well, we have a light. I need to get a light. So as you can see, it looks like there is tons of room. But by the time you get a driver and a helmet in there, there's not. I'm going to tell you that now. It's just not the case. It becomes a real challenge to get 2 inches below the top of this bar. Also, there is that bar. That is a roof intrusion bar, I believe is what they officially call it. It is not required, highly encouraged. Why is it there if it's not required? Well, the people that I typically have in this car are very good friends of mine. Yes, I like them. I know it's a thing. You guys are all watching this. And all my team watches this car. I call it my team. We're going to clarify this real quick. I put the team together. I'm going to take credit for that. However, the team works amazingly well. So I'm going to give them that because without their good personalities and attitudes, it would never work. Moving on. So, 2 inch roll, 2 inch from the top of the bar. Make sure you're there because if not, they're very particular about it. And if you don't get it correctly, you got to redesign the whole cage. So that's kind of a thing. I have a cheat sheet, by the way. I am actually going to use lemons. There's a couple of different type of cages. There is the main hoop style or the halo cage, and there's the A-pillar cage. They're both very legal. Some sanctioning bodies don't allow the hoop style or hoop. I am wrong. There's the halo type and the hoop type. This is a main hoop type cage. This is right off the Lemons website. I have a cheat sheet. I don't know all the rules. I'm just going to go through them. Make sure I don't give you all any information that actually watches for this. A main hoop type, the A-pillar bars start at the hoop and go all the way down. A halo type is where... There we go. A halo type cage is where the A-pillar bars come up, they go around, and it goes like that, and then you attach the down bars to it. I have another cage. I will I'll cut to a photo of that, the one that I'm currently in the process of the Corolla build. That is a halo cage. This is a different style cage. This is a halo style. You can see it comes off of here, it comes around, and then the down bar is attached to it. There's nothing wrong with it. They just don't like it. Some sanctioning bodies do not like that one. I can understand why. It's just a preference thing, but hey, you know what? To each their own. So yeah, moving on. The big thing is you got to have 2 bars in each door. There is this style. All right, while you're sitting here staring at this particular image, you can see that there's 2 door bars that go out. There's a third one on the bottom. So I like to run the third one on the bottom, run 2 up higher. However, there are some rules about that. The short version of that is there's not really a recommended height. When you're building it and you have a question about height, I would highly suggest getting a hold of John Pagel. They do have to be 7.5 inches minimum apart from the top to the bottom. That's the top of the top bar, bottom of the bottom bar. And if you're running an X style where the X meets the cage or the main hoop, it has to be 7.5 inches minimum from the top of the top bar to the bottom of the bottom bar where it meets the cage. I will put a photo up real quick in this spot, which is the one I usually do. You can also do an X pattern where it comes down like that, and there's an X. I'll put a photo of an X style cage. I am an X circle track driver, so I like this style. I always will do this style. So yeah, Whenever you're building it, I recommend doing this, where it kind of comes out off the cage, goes like that, and goes back in. It just gets you away from the driver in the event of a door impact on this side. So as you can see, the door is gutted on this car. I did that for that way I could put the bars out as far as possible. You're not required. I strongly recommend it. So, moving on. They do recommend gusseting the cage. This is literally like I'm going off of this page, and I will put a link in the description of this. You can. This is the best way to do it. Also, the gentleman John Pagel is very easy to get a hold of. You just shoot him a message. He'll get back to you at his convenience. Let's be real, guys. He does other things, so don't get impatient with him. I promise he's a great guy. They do recommend gusseting it. I don't. There's no real reason why I don't, to be honest with you. It is. I just don't do it. They don't want, like, when you're building a cage, they really don't want a lot of excessive bends. And basically, if the bend isn't necessary to fit the car in the cage, don't do it. They really don't want, like, this main A bar. By the way, don't make fun of me. That was because this car was designed for a window net, and I just haven't cut it off. Back off me. They don't want you, like, wiggling. They don't want it to be a bunch of, out of the thing. So you can see this one is very direct. It comes off and it goes down. That's it. It's very, very basic. The less amount of bends, the less it can fail in an accident. It's that simple. So that's a big thing. No excessive bends. This is short. This one's not going to be very entertaining. It's going to be more informative. I went over the helmet rule because that's a real big thing. Went over the door bars. Welds. Okay, so let's get this out of the way now. I am not a welder. I do okay. My neighbor, his name's Ryan. He has a company named Demon Motorsports. That guy's a welder. That man can TIG and do anything else. I'll just go ahead and mention MIG to him so he can laugh at you. Your welds, make sure they're very consistent, and it has to be welded all the way around the bar. The most difficult part is obviously where it comes close to the roof. I've seen it on all cars. And by the way, I've now put 3 cages together for Lemons. They will reach their hand in there, they will reach up, and they will try their best to touch the top of it. If they can feel anything that's in question, you got a problem. They will immediately, you will fail tech, you will have to go back and fix it, and most of the time it ends up cutting a hole in the roof, or you'll see out there, in the Corolla, I had to cut part of this out. I'm literally, page for page. Spreader plates, you have to have 24 square inches on the car. Now, the way this particular car is, let me see if I can find a spot, is I have some plates that are all 6x6 plates, I believe is what I ended up doing, or 5x5, which, by the way, square inches. If it's 6x4, you're 24 square inches. It's that simple. If 5x5, you're 25 square inches. I prefer to make it as centered as possible, but it's not a requirement. It just has to hit it. Also, you really should tie it into the main structure of the car. Now, on a unibody car, like most cars that race in Lemons, there is no actual frame. There are structural points of the car that you can tie into. The big one is obviously this, the rocker panel.
Okay, so here you go, folks. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. This is a better shot versus the one in the Civic. You can see how the rocker panel is tied in. You can see how it's tied into the spreader plate. It makes more sense this way. You get into more of the structure of the car versus just the floor. Also, full disclaimer, I was not planning on shooting this kind of video this week, so stuff is not done, if you will. This is not done on this car. I'm not done with it. It needs to be cleaned up.
The sheet metal on these cars, let's be real, this is a Honda Civic Si 2003. It's not very thick. Trust me, I know, because when I welded it, it was like, In some cases, you actually end up adding a sandwich plate on the bottom. The spreader plates are required at any part of the cage hits the car. So in the back, coming off the main hoop, they want it at a 45-degree angle as close as humanly possible. This car is pretty good, mainly because of the design of the car. You can see it ties into the rear structure right by the shocks. And I have more than 24 square inches back there. Why? It works out better. The more surface load you can spread, the better it is in the event of a rollover. It's that simple. I do have friends of mine, and I do like friends of mine whose life is basically in my hands when I built this car, so I took a little bit extra time. While some of it doesn't look the greatest, I get it. I understand. It can look prettier. Back off me. If you would see the cages that I've built since this one, they have improved. Like I said, I'll show you the Corolla, and so you can see that one, because that one's a little different, because that's also a four-door car. Moving on. So yeah, you want to tie it into the back, frame rails, if you will. If you look underneath any unibody car, you'll see two very thick rails.
I'll show you on this one when I put it up in the air. This isn't a frame per se. It's kind of a, it's a frame rail, if you will. As you can see, I have my tow bar or my tow chain welded to it. That way it can't go through it, or it can't, you know, rip it off. Up top, that's where I have the cage tied into. It's the best way to do it. It's the strongest way. What the rails look like, you kind of want to tie into that, so in the event that something happens. It is racing, folks. Let's be honest here. It happens. Accidents happen. Okay, back to my cheat sheet. So there's welds, there's the spreader plates, bends in the roll cage. Make sure they're consistent. They don't want to see kinks. They don't want to see anything crazy. You can't do a 90 degree. They don't want to see crimps in the metal. And that's just a quality tube bender that does that. If you don't have a quality tube bender and you're trying to make a roll cage, you're going to have issues. There's the 45 degree angle. Make sure where you land it. Like I said, I tied this one to the rear tied this one into the rear frame rails. Make sure it lands as close to that as possible. You might have to cut away in a four-door car. You might have to cut away somewhere the back seat was. That's what I did in the Corolla. There's the correct looping of seat belts. I'm not going to go over that. There's a photo of it online. Check it out. Like I said, I'm going to put a link in the description for this exact page, so that way you guys can go to it and reference it, and then you guys can look at the other rules as well. An aftermarket fuel cell. I have no intentions of ever putting one in. Why? I don't like messing with fuel systems. Yes, I know how to. I'm familiar with it all. I just don't want to. In other words, I build these cars. This is endurance racing. I try to make sure that if I have a fuel pump that fails, I can go get a fuel pump. I don't have to, you know, if you're running an aftermarket fuel cell, you can make a factory fuel pump work. Let's get that out of the way. But it's just a little bit more tricky. On a fuel cell, they want a firewall between you and it. Imagine that, you know, fire. It goes boom, it happens. So make sure that's all properly done. I'm not going to go over a whole lot of that, mainly because I've never done it for Lemon, so I can't really tell you. I just know that they want a firewall, and a very good firewall between you and the fuel cell. That's the short version of it. Wires, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I can't really show you in this car. The transmission's pulled out of it, and I had to cut some of our things. Any wires that you have hanging, do yourself a favor, zip tie them. You can never have too many zip ties. So just do yourself a favor. If you think a wire is loose, just run a zip tie and secure it. It's that simple. The next thing is your fire suppression system is huge. In the event something does go south, which it has, aka the last one I went to was Kentucky. I think 4 cars caught fire. Do yourself a favor. Your fire suppression system, there should be 2 locations for the pull handle. You pull that. You want one of the nozzles facing you, and they want one facing the engine. Now there's like, why is only 2? Well, you can put more. However, there is only a certain amount in that fire extinguisher bottle. I don't know about you, but I would prefer it either spraying on me because I want to get out of the car. The car is replaceable. A human is not. I hope. Ask my wife. She'll tell you the same thing, possibly. And you want one facing, you know, over the engine to put out whatever's going on as best you can, or not, or to give you enough time to get out. Yes, you are in fire suits. So, and I'll touch base on that. The fire suits, it should be, door closing. An SFI 3.2 is what I believe it is. I'll put what it's supposed to be here. I know it's basically a 5-layer, and you can run a single layer. You just have to run the Nomex clothing underneath it. So you have the fire suit, you have fire retardant gloves, you have fire retardant socks, fire retardant shoes, and you have a helmet. Now, what does that do for your neck? They require a Hans device. No, you cannot use just those foam restraints like we used in Circle Track. It doesn't work. They don't like it. I don't blame them. We are going faster speeds. Bad things can happen. Let's just be real here. So you're wearing all that protective clothing, and yes, it does help, but in the event that something goes south and things go boom, I don't know about you, but the more the better. I kind of like this body, even though it's a girlish figure. So the other big point is obviously your seat belts. It does have to be a 5-point. There is the crotch or nut belt, as I call it. All of them have to be very securely fastened. Not all of them have to be attached to the cage, which I still find weird, but it is what it is. They have their rules. The first one is it just gets tied around the harness bar. It gets tied around the harness bar. They want it from a 0 to 15 degree downward angle. A little up is they're okay with it. You know, they just want it so that way it's pulling on you and you're being attached to it.
When you attach them through the floor, kind of like the seat, you go from underneath. They want a 3-inch spreader washer. And it can literally be a 3-inch by 3-inch piece of 1/8-inch steel, which is what I did on this car. I'll show you when I raise it in the air so you can see it. Moving on. Spreader plates. You can literally see this one. We went through the sandwich plate underneath for the left rear seat belt. There's another one over here that goes through for the right rear seat belt. These hold down the seat. This is actually the crotch belt. Seat. As you can see, also, these are nylon locking nuts. That one is too. You just can't see it as well. I don't play around with that. I'm not actually, to be honest with you, thrilled with this, but it hasn't failed, so I understand why. So there's that. And that's literally all they require underneath if you're going through the floor. So there's that. They want an actual kill switch in the car. So they want it so you can access it from outside the car. As you can see, the door's shut. I can grab it and turn it on and off from there. Big one. Big thing is with that kill switch, you want to make sure you interrupt the alternator and all that kind of stuff. So that way, when you actually start the car up, rev it up, hold your foot on the brake, you can kill the car with that switch. You want it to shut down all power. If you just try and interrupt a power wire or a ground wire, it will not work. I've done it several times. You have to wire it a specific way to get it to work. So make sure you buy the appropriate power switch. They do test it. I go through there. They make you hold it at 3,000 RPMs. You kill the car with that switch. They want to see brake light shut off. They want to see the whole car shut down from that switch. That's in the event you get into a wreck, the car's running, they can simply reach in there and grab it and hit the switch. They do give you appropriate stickers right here. That way they know where the switch is. Obviously, sticker, switch, switch, sticker. They're best friends. So there's that part. The other part that's really big is the fire suppression system. The best, and what I would recommend, is just going to their website and buying the suppression systems they have. That way there's no question. I run a 5-pound bottle in this car. It's right there. Ta-da! It is made by Lifeline. I will give them a huge shout out. They did me a solid, well, did the team a solid before the last race. There was a time crunch. It's my fault. I procrastinated because I had a lot of other things going on. I sent it out to them, let them know the situation. They got it back to me. I think it was a 3-day turnaround. I was super impressed. Huge shout out to Lifeline. So that's the other thing. Every 2 years, that bottle has to be sent back out and get recertified by the manufacturer. I think it's about $85. It's not super expensive. They basically get a hold of it, make sure there's no leaks, recharge it, do all that kind of stuff, make sure and all that kind of stuff, and then they have to warranty it. So, yep, there's that. They do, when you go through tech, this is a huge thing. They say this in the rules. When you go through tech, that pin right there that holds this from doing anything when it's not in use has to be out. They want it out when you go through tech. So that way they can verify that you pulled it. That way, you know, it would kind of suck. The car goes boom. You got to pull the cable, and oh, hey, you can't because the pin's in it. So there's that. Like I said, I am trying to not kick bolts. I'm trying to go through the big bullet points. I'm not going to go through every single thing because this video would take too long. That, and I would like to, once again, I'm not affiliated, employed, or anything like that. I am just a racer who builds these cars, and I want to give you all an idea of what you need to do to get it through. Also, if you have any other questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Obviously, John Paggles, he's the end-all, be-all. Whatever he says goes. I am just a little guy in the grand scheme of the world. So, hopefully the engine doesn't fall out because there's nothing holding it in place other than one engine mount. All right, now the car's in the air for the millionth time. Oil leaks. They really don't want to see any. It's not a huge thing. They just don't want it to where, you know, it's sitting here idling and going drip, 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 drip. You can see this one is not completely dry. It is slightly damp, but it doesn't actually drip, kind of a thing. Your exhaust system should be solid. It has to last the length of the race. And let me tell you, the amount of heat that goes through this, as you can see, it gets really hot. They require 3 mounting points. This one usually attaches to the subframe. There's one back here. Right there, as you can see, and there is one right there. They want that exhaust mounted in 3 places. I'm sure in the event that something goes south, they want to make sure you have extra support. They do not like exhaust leaks. That's a huge thing. They don't want to, you know something about fumes in a cabin. I can't imagine why. Oh, windshields. Yep, there's a spot I missed. Small cracks are okay. as long as it's not like you can't run your finger over and feel it. But if it is a cracked windshield, I would recommend replacing it anyways because it's compromised. So yeah, I would recommend that very highly. They don't like it. It can pass as long as, you know, it's like a normal cracking, like a rock hits it, it cracks and it just continues, but it doesn't actually, like, you can't feel it. You can't feel sand, if you will, going over it, because that does happen. But either way, 2 cents if you're watching this video and you want my 2 cents on it. If you have a crack in the windshield, get it replaced or run Lexan. Some of you are going to ask about this $500 car thing. Yep, I get it. Everybody always sees that, and that's their first thing. Oh, I thought it'd be a $500 car. Let's be real, guys. $500 cars don't exist anymore. If they do, you have to put more than $500 in them just to make them usable. So the $500 car thing is loosely used. I will tell you, they give you kind of penalty laps. If you have like a $20,000 car, you're probably not going to win the race because they're going to give you a bunch of penalty laps. But if, hey, you want to go out there and have fun and race with all these busted cars, hey man, more power to you. You know, I enjoy seeing it. There was a Camry out there that whooped our butt last time, and it had to have been like a 2018 or something like that. You know what though? They were out there having fun. By the way, if I seem a little bit out of it, I am. I'm on the tired side. I just drove back 18 hours and I only got about 4 hours of sleep. Last but not least, I'm gonna say it one more time. I am not affiliated, employed, or anything of Lemons. I am a racer. I just race. I had somebody kind of give me or ask for if I had any videos about it. It's a solid idea. So I'm giving you an idea. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, the end all be all for your questions is a guy named John Pagel. He is on Facebook. He does build cages for a living. He is also a part of Lemons. Get a hold of him if you have any questions. He is a super nice guy. He can be very direct, short, and to the point. He doesn't mean any offense by it, I promise. He just has a lot going on, and you're not the only one asking questions, myself included. I put together an Audi TT cage, and let me tell you how much fun that was. And I'll be doing another, I think I'm supposed to be doing a Saturn Ion Redline, I think is the other car. But I'm not supposed to be doing that for another couple of months, and that's because of me. So get a hold of John Pagel if you have any questions. By all means, if you have any questions that I can help with, shoot me an email, southpawcustoms2020@gmail.com. I have no problems answering it or helping in any way, shape, or form. So in the meantime, guys, I don't know how long this video is going to be. I also don't know what else is going to be in it. I will do my best to put links in the description of where to look for stuff. Any questions about safety equipment, about Lemon stuff, if that's what you're looking to do, go to their website. They have a store that you can buy stuff. They also have, if you don't know what to buy in regards to racing equipment, they have a whole link. You can actually buy a whole new driver setup. It's kind of cool. I'm not sure if the prices are competitive. I'm not going to go digging for it. I imagine they are. Because it's the internet, and let's be real, if you're not being competitive, then you're not going to make a sale. However, if you buy it from them and they see it and there's a question mark, it's like, no, dude, I bought this off your Lemon store. So, and then then they're like, oh, okay, just it's easier. Kind of like some of these rules I don't agree with. You know what? The end of the day, I don't have to agree with them, but I have to go by them. And if I don't want to go by them and I want to become, the guy who tries to challenge everything, well, guess what? Then when I go through tech, they can make my life a pain. Just remember that. While some of the rules are a little bit different, just go by them. It's that simple. You go by their rules, you go through tech, you get to race your car, and you get to go have fun with your buddies. So, that being said, life is entirely too short, guys, and in case anybody wonders why I keep saying this, it is. 1 minute, you're enjoying life. The next minute, you're 6 feet under taking a dirt nap. Permanently. So, at the end of the day, guys, life's too short. Get out and enjoy it.